What's up, fam? I'm Shuffin, and I'm part of a family business. Whether you're a fifth generation billion-dollar conglomerate or you just opened a taco shop with your mom, I'm here to help you navigate life, relationships, and of course, the business. This video is going to talk about a mental model that I learned about at my MBA program, which was a top 5 school, and that family business consultants that we hired after I graduated really helped us apply and learn. I want to give this away to you guys for free because I think all family businesses should know about this model. And if I'd learned about this before, this really would have helped in certain situations before I found out about it. So let's dive in. This model was created in 1978 by Renato Tagiri and John Davis. It's called the 3-circle model. It helps you navigate the different parts that you talk to in family and employees. So as the name implies, there's 3 circles. The first one is family. Second one is business. Surprise. And third one is the ownership of the business. So as you can see, there are quite a few sections that overlap. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what each of these sections represent is potential conflict or where motivations may be misaligned. It's a really simple model, but it has taken me years to implement into my thinking of when I'm talking to someone in one of these sections, what section they're in, but also building self-awareness of kind of what section I'm in. I'll share 3 ways I've experienced this model. So the first example is with my brother. This is a time when I was in the business and he wasn't. So he'd be in this first bucket and I would be in the family and business bucket. And it was something as simple as talking about whether or not we should take a family vacation and how long it would be. Personally, as much as I love my mom and dad, I was seeing them every single day. So I kind of did not want to spend my time off being with them. Love you, mom and dad. But for my brother, who lived in a different city and only got to see my parents a couple times a year, for him it was really important to spend that time together. I didn't really feel that empathy for his situation until I kind of applied this model. And as classroom as it sounds, it really does work of understanding where my brother's coming from and where I'm coming from. And so just approaching that conversation of, hey, this is kind of the part of me that doesn't want to go on the vacation, and this is the part of me that does, the family part of me, but the business part of me, the personal, individualistic, wanted a break. Another example is when you're making a really important business decision and how it's going to impact the family. The really interesting thing about family businesses, and if you're here, I assume you have a family business, is it's not always about the business. The business doesn't always come first. That's why these 3 circles exist, because at times there are 2 or 3 different motivating factors on why you make a decision. So for example, we had an unsolicited private equity offer to invest in our business. The industry was getting a lot of attention, so we got a couple FedEx envelopes asking if we'd be interested in chatting. Before we did that, I looked at how it would apply to this model.
Family would be right here in number 7. That would be the family. And the private equity firm would be sitting in bucket 3. The private equity firm could also be in bucket 5 if they got involved in the operations of the business or recommended someone join the business and gave that person a equity plan or long-term incentive plan with some ownership in the business.
When a family sits in that, sometimes they will do something for the benefit of the family that's not so good for the business. If there is some investment that you could pour back into the business instead of taking it out, be more helpful to the business. But life's not all about money. Some families agree with that. Some people don't, but I think if you're in family business, you tend to agree with that. You know, if they came in, the decision making for when we take money out of the business instead of keeping it in the business would be a lot different, because now you have someone else who has a different motivation than taking money out. They're not going to be able to use the beach house. They want to keep that money growing and their balance sheet that they are a part of, because they're going to see those profits. So that's a decision. When we looked at that, we decided not to entertain those discussions because maybe we would have grown faster, but it would have been at the expense of kind of how much control we had. Some people value money over control and they want to grow quicker, and sometimes you would value control over money. Just understanding that those are the 2 circles or sections that would have been competing really helped us clarify whether or not we wanted to make that decision and what that would mean someone in that section versus this other section. I'll give you one last example, which I wasn't personally part of, but someone told me that this happened to him. And I thought it was a good illustration of kind of the softer part of family business. Being in family business is extremely tough. You have a lot of different hats to wear, literally, and this is what this kind of refers to. There was a dad and his son, and the dad was talking about, he's in this section 7 right here, and his son did not have any ownership of the business, but he was involved in the business, right? He was vice president of sales, something that was instrumental in the business performance. So his son was in this section 6 because he was in the family and he was in the business. So this dad was talking about his son and how his son wasn't performing, and he had a role really critical to the business. And that was a really tough decision for him to make. So one weekend, his dad goes to his son and sits him down and literally takes 2 hats. And as kind of corny as it sounds, I think it really worked and drove the point home, because this was a pretty tough conversation he had to have. And the dad started out wearing a hat that said CEO on it and said, Jeremy, you have not performed to our liking as the board. As CEO of the business, I'm going to have to let you go. And he fired his son. And then he took that hat off, put another hat on that said father or dad, and said, son, I just learned that you got fired from your job. I want to be here to support you and do all I can to make sure that you kind of get back up on your feet. And that's a great illustration of going between these different buckets, because on one hand, dad was in this ownership bucket and he had to make a decision of, as a board member, as someone with financial interest within the company, what was the best decision? On the other hand, he was in this family bucket, which he had to really care for a son and the impact that it had. And his son had kids too, so it had impacted his grandkids. And of course, the business, right? As the executive within the business, the buck stops with the dad, and he had to make that decision of what's best for the business and what's best for Jeremy, the son, and I'm making this name up, in terms of his business performance. The transition happened where the son moved from section 6 to section 1, and his interest and motivation changed, and of course his relationship with his dad changed too. There was a lot less baggage there, and I've definitely felt that, because as I've removed myself from certain businesses or got involved with different businesses, the dynamics of my relationship with my mom and my dad has changed, and it has created issues that I've taken responsibility for and realized the way that I'm approaching this relationship is either healthy or unhealthy. And these are the ways that I can interact with my parents, or separate the parts from my parents and know which parts I'm talking to about my parents to have the most productive and healthy conversations with them. This model takes years and years to implement, so don't beat yourself up. I beat myself up whenever I'd kind of slip up, but it takes a long time to understand the different parts of you, and it's always a balance. It's never going to be over. So as you go through life working in family business, if you committed to this path, which is a very difficult but a very rewarding path of being in the family business, staying in the mindset that it's a constant balance of being a family member, being a son, brother, father, and also being a business executive who wants the best for the business. Sometimes those conflicts arise in terms of motivation and what each of those parts want. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It encourages me to make more of these videos and tells me what type of content you guys want to see. Thanks.